It'll be a long episode. I can't stop yawning now either. I was doing fine till I saw your fucking face on my screen.
Hey, that proves you're not a serial killer, at least.
Oh, yeah?
Have you heard of that whole thing?
Uh-uh.
Psychologically, why yawning is contagious is an empathetic thing.
Huh. I usually lack empathy.
So, you're a dick, but you're not a serial killer.
Oh, that is so our cold open.
Welcome back to a new episode of There Will Be Ice Tips. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron.
And this is the calm before the storm. Comic-Con is this week. I'm not looking forward to it, / am looking forward to it. But we did have a decent collection of news. D23 did happen last weekend. Sadly, a lot of the good shit did not actually go public, like the Avengers Infinity War trailer, which I know people who fucking saw it, and I'm super pissed off. Now, here's a quick question for you, just a quick aside. I hate the idea of going and reading trailer descriptions like people do.
Oh, God, no.
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
How can you possibly get any benefit from having a description of a trailer on it, like something that big? Like, just wait for the fucking thing itself. Does that bother you?
That bothers me a ton.
Yeah.
And the thing I've never gotten is, like, how can they even really do that? Didn't they just see it, like, once? And then they're describing it to you?
I don't know. I think it falls back in line with, like, how anti-spoiler you are.
People are clearly looking at it, though, because places keep doing them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I would, if I'm going to at least watch a trailer, I want to at least watch the goddamn trailer.
Especially for something like that, like an Avengers movie happens once every 4 years, and it's a big fucking deal when it happens.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just wait. It sucks that it wasn't made public, but I'm not gonna spoil the experience by reading somebody fucking describe it to me like that. Like you said, only watched it fucking one time.
If nothing else, it's probably gonna be on the next movie. We have 12 of them a year,
basically. So this conversation is actually providing a tease to our VOD discussion at the end of the episode, which is pet peeves. So we just started it out of order. So there you go. But we're going to jump to the news right now. And we wanted to start off the episode saying a few words about George A. Romero, who passed away at age 77 due to a short stint with lung cancer. And if you want to talk about one of the true titans of industry, I think Romero definitely is. Because when you just think about and Robert Kirkman actually went out and tweeted about this saying basically the exact same thing. Without George A. Romero, there is no Walking Dead.
Yeah.
The modern zombie basically was his creation, the way that we know them.
It's very rare, especially in an industry like Hollywood, that someone just comes along and completely rewrites the way everybody does something. And that's exactly what he did with the horror genre, specifically zombie movies, because any zombie movie that you think of was basically the brainchild of Romero. You've never seen what a zombie movie was like before he came around.
Either he directed it or whoever made it was either ripping him off or inspired by him, basically.
There's a fine line between those two.
Night of the Living Dead was the first one, and I think one of the cool things about him too was if you ever watch him in interviews or hear people talk about him, he was a movie fan and a geek first who just happened to work in the industry. He seemed like a really, really cool guy.
Yeah.
A cool photo that had surfaced over the last few days was one with Sam Raimi as a 19, 20-year-old kid who had found him at some point out and about and taken a picture of him and stuff like that. He would take the time to stop and take photos of people because he genuinely loved the geek culture behind it, not just he was the opposite of a film snob, like a lot of famous directors become. James
Michael Bay.
We went different but totally accurate directions. But yes, George A. Romero, he definitely will be missed, and his works will literally live on because zombie movies will always draw inspiration from him, even if they don't intend to.
They will live on unless struck in the head.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Dude, one of my favorite remakes of all time actually is Dawn of the Dead.
I agree. That made my top 5 horror movie lists when we did our rankings. I fucking love that movie.
Damn good movie.
I need to I don't think I've ever actually seen the original Dawn of the Dead all the way through. I need to go back and watch it.
I wouldn't remember a goddamn thing about it unless it was in the remake. Because it has been so long, it would be a new movie.
Yeah, I need to check it out.
Somewhere, Chiller or someone, I guarantee you, is probably going to be doing a marathon in tribute. One of those horror movie streaming services or someone better be. Because a lot of horror movies, even not zombie related, you can feel like something Romero would have done. So,
it was very neat as well how there were a lot of pictures that surface on Twitter and stuff where people were uploading, or I was about to say uploading, they on Twitter they were uploading images where they were taking photos of billboards around the city that had homages to Romero and like tributes paid to him and stuff.
One thing that I will say too is the man still terrifies me because I've played a lot of Call of the Dead on Black Ops Zombies. And do you remember we played it on Halloween a couple of years ago? He just walks around the map invincible as a zombie, and you're always running from him.
Yeah, it's great. And the man was prolific too. Like, it just was reported yesterday he had 4 unfinished scripts. Or no, he had.
I didn't know he was still doing shit.
He had 4. Sorry, excuse me. I think he had like 1 or 2 of them that were basically finished, but they were all unproduced as of that time. But his longtime collaborator and like writing partner is actually his mission now. He said in an interview he's going to try to get all of them made. For Romero. And the man was 77. The man was a harder worker at 77 than I am at 25. So like, God bless that guy.
I had no idea he was still doing anything. I thought he was retired.
And yeah, the dude was like so successful. He could have retired at like age 45 and been set for life. He
retired a long ass time ago.
But he loved the industry. He loved making movies, and he definitely will be missed. Another titan of industry in a different capacity is Stan Lee, and I was happy to hear that he was finally honored with his own Walk of Fame star.
About goddamn time.
Should have
how many cameos does a man have to do before he gets one?
Should have had one 25, 30 years ago, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he was honored with a hand and footprint ceremony in front of the TCL Chinese Theater on July 18th in Los Angeles. I believe it's in Los Angeles. And yeah, if anyone is deserving of it right now, like fucking Hollywood is backed on the brainchilds of the guy.
The man helped save comic books, and then he saved Hollywood.
Yeah, because once they run out of Marvel shit to make and remake, we're fucked.
Dude, you know what I was talking to my wife about earlier today? I saw an article, I think from Hollywood Reporter on Twitter. The 35 most memorable Stan Lee cameos. And I was like, that's just the most memorable ones? And I sat there like, how many has he fucking done? And I started counting on my hand just the ones I remember, and I hit like, I don't know, high 20s. Those are just the ones that I know.
The MCU is approaching 20 films, and the MCU is not even 10 years old yet. He was basically in cameos for like all the other adaptations.
He was in Daredevil. Like, you can sit there and name all the ones that he was in.
Ang Lee's Hulk even. You remember Ang Lee's Hulk? He's the guy who like takes the drink of the thing that has like the Hulk serum, and he apparently like wiped out a whole town. I don't like that movie, but that was an awesome cameo for him.
Amazing Spider-Man. He's listening to Beethoven or whatever.
Maybe my favorite is the Amazing Spider-Man one. I don't care what anyone says about that movie. If they don't respect that fucking cameo sequence,
just get the fuck out.
Just get the fuck out of my face. But yes.
The only thing that's kind of heartbreaking is this will be like the one major event in his life so far that Joan wasn't there for.
But I do think it is cool, because if he ever needed to be surrounded by people and remember just how beloved he is, it was now. So I think it couldn't have actually been in a more perfect time.
Yeah, if it was going to happen this late, then it might as well.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you saw, I think Kevin Smith was at the event, and he was like providing a live Facebook feed of it, and like the place was packed.
Odds are this stuff takes so long to put together anyway. She might have already known about it when she passed.
Yeah. I think she probably did for sure, because I think they usually know like 9 months to a year in advance before they will actually get it because they have so many backed up that it takes time to like get it situated.
Yeah.
While we're talking about Stan Lee, let's talk about some Marvel news. This one was pretty interesting to me. You and I have talked before about how Sony is planning the Venom spinoff movie.
Yes.
And just today, we got a little bit of indication about what like the tone and inspirations will be for it. Okay. Apparently, according to one of the producers at Columbia, which I guess is like they're kind of partnered up with Sony producing these, director Ruben Fleischer is drawing influence from the works of John Carpenter and David Cronenberg while maintaining a sense of more pop and fun. So like, when you think about like the concept of Venom, I think that's perfect because when you think about Cronenberg and John Carpenter, the two movies that come to my mind are The Thing and The Fly. And what do they both have in common? They're weird body horror movies.
Yes.
And Venom is a fucking body horror story.
Did you imagine the Petri dish test scene with the symbiote?
Dude.
In like magnesium or something?
Dude, if they have like an homage sequence of that, that's like fucking movie of the year. Like I will go back right then and repurchase a second ticket just to support that movie. But yeah,
buy
I think
2 tickets and just sit through it by yourself.
Dude, I'll fucking do it. I love John Carpenter's The Thing. Like one of my top 5 of all time favorite films of John Carpenter's The Thing. I think everyone by now that follows the show knows that. But goddamn, like the more I hear about this movie, the more I am intrigued. Just because if they can pull this off, I think it'll be great. Mm-hmm. It's just that it's a really delicate tightrope they have to walk.
I am cautiously optimistic because
I would agree.
I love Venom.
I love Tom Hardy too.
Yes, and it's like in my mind, it's like what damage can they really do? Because it's not like the MCU fucking something up for me. You know, worst case scenario, they make a Venom movie, it flops, and then in like 2 or 3 years, they sell that one back to Marvel.
Or because of the way their quasi deal is working as far as the crossovers, the MCU can just straight up like
use
that Venom didn't happen. They'll just etch it out of fucking existence, you know, like
sketch it.
Fleischer also added that the Venom storyline they're working on is basically going to explore a Jekyll and Hyde dynamic. The quote he said, "They become almost a third being," which is what Venom is. There's a famous quote, and he referenced the comics. You're Eddie Brock, I'm the symbiote, together we are Venom. So I think there's a lot of potential for this movie to do really, really well. It all depends, like that script better be fucking good because I wouldn't know how to do it.
I really hope the tone sticks horror movie though, because that is perfect.
That is something that the Sony guys.
Could you imagine a straight up horror movie Carnage?
Yeah, that's what. In addition to the Venom report, they also talked about Silver and Black, the Silver Sable Black Cat movie they're also planning. They said that one is basically inspired by Thelma and Louise. It's going to be like a little like duo buddy cop, not buddy cop, but like a buddy crime caper type of movie. Mm-hmm. Venom is heavily sci-fi horror influence. So like they're basically doing like, they're kind of following the Marvel route, but they're being, you know how like the Marvel movies, they have like Ant-Man's the heist movie, Guardians, it's a sci-fi opera and shit like that. And Doctor Strange is like I don't even know how to fucking explain Doctor Strange.
The mind bender.
The Inception mindfuck of a movie. They all have like their own flavor. Like they're kind of going that route to like the nth degree. Like these movies are going to be very different. That's what they're saying. I mean, I think it could be cool. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So a movie that I just fucking want right now is
it's still one I cannot believe we live in a world we're getting.
Right. Ant-Man and the Wasp has added Justified star and Hateful Eight star Walton Goggins in an unspecified role, which I will bet you my life is the main villain. And holy shit, if I didn't already be... I fucking like Ant-Man. The first one is like basically one of my top 5 MCU movies. Yes. I adore that movie. Anyone who says otherwise can go fuck themselves because they're if you can't watch Ant-Man and have fun, fuck you. You have no soul. Like, come on, that movie. It's not the best movie I've ever seen, but good God, is that movie fun? Like,
it's so fun. It's so good.
and I love Walton Goggins. I still need you and Chris to watch Justified. I think you will fucking love Justified. I
like Westerns, so I'm pretty interested in it.
Just bypassing that line. That's a long-running in-joke that no one will understand, but me, fuck you, Ron. And yes, love me some Ant-Man and the Wasp. They also, one thing at D23 they did have was some of the banners across D23 were the new Wasp costume, up with like a banner next to the Ant-Man costume. So yes, I fucking love it. I love everyone in Ant-Man. I love all the casting choices they made. I like the idea. I love the title, how they have the double like entendre between the modern Ant-Man and the Wasp and Hank Pym and his wife. It's really cool.
Who would you suspect Walton Goggins is playing?
See, that's also one of the things I actually do like about Ant-Man is I couldn't tell you anything about it.
You don't know shit about him. I don't know
shit about it. I don't like. I didn't even know who Yellow Jacket was until the movie, just because I'd never read any of the comics.
I had actually, for whatever reason, I actually knew Yellow Jacket, but
yeah, you were more in the know than I am. So
I have no idea how I knew about Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, just have to wait and see. But whoever they pick, it'll be fucking good. Like,
and not to mention he's the villain in Tomb Raider, which is going to be incredible.
I'm
assuming he's the dude at the Buzzsaw staff.
Basically, if he's not like
dude,
that,
he can play crazy.
Oh, yeah,
he can play crazy.
One other movie he was in that I genuinely liked his performance in too. Do you remember American Ultra, the Max Landis movie with Eisenberg and?
I don't think I saw it.
Topher Grace was in it too. It was actually really good. It's like a little quirky Max Landis type of.
What does he do that's not?
Right. Yeah, it was pure unadulterated Max Landis. Like if you like Max Landis, you will have a great old time, and if you dislike Max Landis, you will hate yourself because it is Max Landis.
It's kind of like watching a Tarantino movie. You can go into a movie not knowing who did it, and you're like, "Oh, this is Tarantino."
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Walton Goggins plays this like batshit crazy mercenary, and he's like fucking awesome in it because he's like.
Okay, wait. You just said that, and I just thought, why have we gotten him in like a Predator or Alien movie?
I would have totally cast him in Shane Black's Predator, dude. He's
right?
Like, born to be in a Shane Black movie. He's so good.
Right?
Yeah. I'm so happy to see his career taking the trajectory it is because he really deserves it. He's fucking great.
He's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
And he's one of those that if you don't know who we're talking about, I guarantee you've seen him somewhere. He pops up.
He's Boyd, and most people know him as Boyd from Justified. Like I said, he was one of the main guys in Hateful Eight. Oh, he's fucking great. Did you watch Hateful Eight yet?
No, I want to, though.
We need to watch Django and Hateful Eight because they're so fucking great. I think Walton Goggins might have actually been in Django as well in like a more supporting role. Mm-hmm. I can't remember, but yeah, he's so good in it.
He's so good. Someone that's not so good.
One thing that was announced officially at D23 was the first image, full cast, and release date for Dumbo, and there was much rejoicing.
Yay!
Okay. Directed by Tim Burton.
Weird.
Starring, it's a Batman Returns reunion of Danny DeVito and Michael fucking Keaton, like, with star Colin Farrell. Like,
what is happening?
What is happening? Because the last time I checked, no one gave a fuck about Dumbo. And
I don't know who this is for, and I don't know how it can possibly survive today, being as racist as it was to begin with.
The only thing that's more surprising than who they got to be in the movie is the fact that Johnny Depp isn't in it wearing some type of weird makeup.
He's probably Dumbo.
Because
it's probably just Johnny Depp in an elephant costume on wires.
When you think about it, basically every script Tim Burton has ever made or directed, half the storyline is just Johnny Depp in weird fucking makeup acting weird, and that is the movie. Edward Scissorhands, fucking Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like even Ed Wood, he doesn't have the makeup. I actually really like Ed Wood, but it's Johnny Depp being fucking weird. That's like his thing. Johnny, be fucking weird. We'll catch you on camera. We'll make $1 billion. I mean, I can't fault them because it's fucking worked. Like almost every time. It
clearly worked for quite some time.
The movie is going to be in theaters March 29 of 2019.
Mark your calendar. You know what day to stay home.
It's just real. Is it just one of those things where Disney has more money than fucking God, so they're just like, fuck it, who cares? Here's $100 million is nothing to them to make a movie.
I got my full Dumbo dose in Framing Roger Rabbit. Well, that was all I needed.
I don't even know if I've ever actually seen all of Dumbo, the original one.
If I did, I was really little and I probably didn't care then.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just really odd to me that they were able to get so many fucking like A-list people for this. Like,
there's so many other projects too that I would have picked.
How is Dumbo getting a fully framed, like fully budgeted live action movie before Little Mermaid? Like, how does that make any sense? This is gonna they confirmed Mulan. How did this get made before Mulan?
Before Mulan.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I literally have no idea. I agree with you. I don't really know who's it for, because the interesting thing too is Alice in Wonderland is actually like it stayed relevant much more so than Dumbo, and even its sequel didn't do well. The first one crushed it. The first one by Burton. Oh, that's the other one. Who was in weird makeup acting fucking weird in that one?
Helena Bonham Carter.
And Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah, usually she's in a lot of them too.
Well, I think they're actually divorced now, so I don't think she's been in the last handful. But yeah,
there's a quote somewhere. I don't remember the exact quote, but she said sometime that she just wanted to be like pretty in a movie for once, and Tim Burton was like, "No,
fuck you, wife."
I was just like, okay.
In other Disney-related news also broke at D23 that Aladdin had finally casted its leads. Let's start with Aladdin himself. I'm probably going to fuck up his name. I apologize. Mina Masood. And will be playing Aladdin. He was born in Egypt and raised in Canada. That was part of their thing. They were like exhausting all resources to try and find an unknown that wasn't a fucking white guy. That was basically the whole fucking thing. He is apparently in Amazon's Jack Ryan series with Krasinski. That's I think it's in production right now. I don't think it's been released. That's his like main thing. So he's a total unknown. I've never seen him in anything. That show's not even released yet, I'm pretty sure. Playing Jasmine will be Power Rangers star Naomi Scott, who was the Pink Ranger. Is that correct?
Yes.
I actually liked her in that movie.
When you first sent me that text message, I was like, what the fuck? Seriously? Then I was sitting there, I was like, actually, I take that back, because all the issues I had with Power Rangers was like writing. I think all the actors in that movie did the best they could.
I think the actors actually did a phenomenal job, because like when you think about some of the lines they were forced to say, and the fact that they managed to pull any of them off at all to any degree was like fucking impressive, because they had some awful dialogue.
I'll give Disney this. They look like Aladdin and Jasmine.
Yeah, I really like both the choices.
Yes.
And then we get to Genie, and they kind of like really lose me, because they get Will Smith for the sake of adding Will Smith, which is really frustrating to me, because the only reason they get Will Smith is because they want to be able to say they have Will Smith on the poster. That is like the main thing. They want him as a draw to get people in their fucking seats.
I think it's as much that as they're going to have a totally different Genie, so you can't compare it to Robin Williams. It's going to be nothing like the Genie you know.
But I think what's frustrating about it to me is that they didn't need to do that. No. Aladdin by itself is a sell, because people fucking love Aladdin. And it's a Disney movie. They're going to have the biggest like marketing campaign you've ever seen. It was going to make money. It wasn't necessary to get Will Smith. And it just kind of makes me sad. Because you and I have been on record multiple times. I wish they would have gone the route of going with the Broadway guy, or getting like Caliendo, getting like a Robin Williams impersonator. Like, to me, that is more respectful, homaging his performance, as opposed to fuck that performance. We're going to go in a 180 direction just to not draw comparisons.
It especially upsets me, because you know how I am about animated movies usually. I usually don't like most of them. But Aladdin was my favorite Disney one. It's one of my all-time favorite movies from when I was a kid. And its sequel. Very rarely do I like the sequel to the animated stuff. And Return of Jafar is pretty. It's almost a standalone movie. As long as you know what happens in the first one, it's pretty much a standalone movie.
Yeah, my two favorites were Aladdin and Lion King, and the Aladdin Super Nintendo game. I'm pretty sure I beat that game like 20 times. It was my favorite games.
That game was so fucking hard.
Dude, I beat that shit so many times. If I were to try that today, I probably would be able to clear the first level. Like, you ever look back and like realize like
I used to play that game, and I would just pull the Peter Griffin, done, and then walk off.
Have you ever like looked back at games? Like, it happened with Donkey Kong Country as well. Like Donkey Kong Country, I could beat that game in my sleep when I was a little kid. I tried to play it a few months back, maybe like a year back. I got to like level 3 and I was getting my ass kicked. I was like, how did I do this as a little kid?
It's like you spent endless hours on it and only it.
That and your reflexes as a little kid are like a hell of a lot better than you are as an adult who doesn't get enough sleep every day of their life. So I pretty much just killed all of my gaming skills. So anyone who's watching me watch PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds actually knows that already. I think it is directed by Guy Ritchie, but there is no like release date yet for it. Again, how the fuck did Dumbo get into production before Aladdin? Like, what fucking world do we live in?
Well, I think that one can be explained by they're partially afraid to do the project. I think
I would agree with that. It's even being afraid, I would expect a fucking terrified production of Aladdin.
I don't think it's quite Avengers level, but I think it's something that they know they got to get it fucking right if they're gonna do it at all.
Now, that's the thing too. Like, don't get me wrong, I do like Will Smith.
Yes,
it's not that I don't
just didn't
like
want
him.
Hutch as the genie.
Or Hitch.
Yeah, same diff. That shows you what I think of that movie.
What was the movie where Hancock? Was that where he was like the superhero?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually like that movie too.
You know what's funny? I ran that movie forever, and I didn't ever watch it.
It was actually based off a comic.
Was it?
Yeah, believe it or not. And it was actually not bad, but it's been like 10 years.
God, that movie bombed.
I don't know if it did. It might have bombed for like relative Will Smith terms, but I don't think it like did super bad. I would have to go back and look, but let's continue with the last bit of movie news. Guillermo del Toro famously left the production of Pacific Rim 2 basically because he wanted to go off and do his own thing, and the production schedule was all jacked up. And del Toro is one of those pro-fucking-lific types of directors who like basically constantly has to be fucking doing something. Like, he has like movie directing ADD. Like,
he's got more ideas in his head than he has time to make them real things.
Yeah. And that movie ended up being The Shape of Water, which I like that title. First off, it's an intriguing title to me. This is a basically completely from scratch, I believe, original story. So their official description.
Geoff, this is Hollywood. Nothing is original.
With Del Toro, I will give it a pass. Because I think, didn't he do? I think Pan's Labyrinth was original. I could be wrong on that. But he has done a lot of high profile adaptations like Hellboy and stuff like that. But Pacific Rim was original too. That was their own idea. The official description for The Shape of Water: an otherworldly fairy tale set against the backdrop of Cold War era America. They already have me. I like Cold War stuff. I'm a sucker for Cold War stuff.
Like World War I, it's something you just never hear about.
Yeah. In the hidden high security government lab where she works, lonely Alyssa or Eliza, I don't know how they actually pronounce it in the trailer now that I think about it, is trapped in a life of silence and isolation. Her life is forever changed when she and co-worker Zelda discover a secret classified experiment. Rounding out the cast are Michael Shannon, Richard Jenkins, Michael Stuhlbarg, and Doug Jones. Who
had a really good cast in it.
Fantastic casts. They have my ticket sold just with Michael Shannon and Richard Jenkins alone because I adore both those guys. So the trailer is very, very specifically weird, but it's like it's Del Toro. It is Del Toro, but it's like aesthetically it's Del Toro, but it's almost had like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, what were your first impressions in the trailer after checking it out?
I mean, I don't know how to describe. Because I've seen movies where, monster in cage, person befriends monster, helps monster escape. I've seen that story like before, but I don't really know how to describe that or like call that. But I mean, it was, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it. It was very odd.
Okay, I really actually like the idea that the lead character is mute, just because of how original it is. Like you don't see people with disabilities like that typically leading a movie. I really like that about it.
Well, that's the next step, Jeff. We've got women covered now. Now it's all going to be disabled heroes.
Yeah, basically. I actually don't think you're wrong. I'll just throw that out there.
Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot left. We'll have gay heroes and disabled heroes. Then Hollywood's covered.
Pretty much. Here's one thing I noticed too. It is BioShock as fuck.
It's BioShock or the Zora from Legend of Zelda.
With there was talk for a really long time of Gore Verbinski actually making the BioShock movie before it kind of got shit canned because the budget was going to be too high. Forget, as much as I like Gore Verbinski, Del Toro should have been making that movie because
evidently
the sound design, the look of the sets, the music is BioShock as fuck. And if you haven't played the game, look up any trailer for it, any Let's Play for a minute, and you will know what I'm talking about.
It had the aesthetic, that's for damn sure.
The cast is great. I mean, I'm gonna end up watching it for Del Toro if nothing else because I usually watch his stuff. Did you ever watch Crimson Peak, by the way?
I want to. It's on HBO.
It was pretty good. It's not one of my favorites of his, but it's pretty solid. I like how
it's worth watching just for the cast and crew alone.
What I really liked about it too.
Anything that gets me more Hiddleston.
Yeah, he's good in it.
Says the man that never saw the Spy miniseries he did.
Oh, what the fuck was it called?
With Hugh Laurie.
Huh?
With Laurie?
Yeah, it had Hugh Laurie and Olivia Colman in it too.
Oh, Olivia Colman's in it?
Yeah, she's there. She's Hiddleston's basically his
MI6.
she is his mission handler. God damn it, I have to know what it is now. Hold on.
Why can't I think of it?
I watched
right in the front of my brain.
I watched the whole fucking series, Night Manager.
Oh, thank God.
I watched the whole fucking series, and I couldn't even tell you what the guy did name it. I really liked it, too. It was a good series. It was strong.
I remember when it ended, everybody was calling for Hiddleston to be 007.
Yeah, which I still don't know why they're trying to get Daniel Craig back so much. Okay, we are on 8 other different tangents.
I know.
It's Del Toro. I'm going to fucking watch it. I like how original it seems as far as the lead. It's fucking Del Toro. All right, Ron. Let's get to some TV news, and we're going to start off with the biggest news of the week, obviously. Jodie Whittaker of Broadchurch fame, speaking of Olivia Colman. A woman, speaking of segues. And we were so fucking close. If I had actually been one of those pools betting money and I lost this, I would have been so upset because we picked the scenario right, we picked the show right, and all the reasoning behind it and got the wrong fucking actress.
I know, we were so close.
So close, yet so far away. So Jodie Whittaker from Black Mirror and Broadchurch will be joining the series as the 13th Doctor. It's obviously the first female Doctor, which Twitter and the internet lost their fucking mind as if they were fucking surprised that it happened. It was always going to fucking happen, you guys. They have been, and what really pisses me off about this is people who are actually fans of the show and were watching it, and I guess they've been setting it up for 2 fucking seasons.
Yeah,
2 seasons of setting it up. You just watched a major character.
Pretty blatant.
You just watched a major character change into a woman within the last 2 seasons. I wonder why they're doing that.
Yes.
Fucking
not to mention Capaldi had lines where he couldn't remember if he was a man or a woman during certain scenarios in his past, and one of the characters said something about turning into a woman, and he said, "We can only hope that we do."
Is the future all girls? We can only hope. That was, I believe.
Yes, and then there was a side character that not only went from man to woman, went from white to black. There was another Time Lord it showed.
The level of stupidity surrounding this announcement online makes me lose even more faith in humanity. The people who were it's called Doctor Who, not Nurse Who.
I saw one that said Maid Who. Now, here's the interesting thing. Now, to be fair, when I was scrolling through Twitter, I saw mixed. I saw some good, some bad.
There actually was a lot of support. Everyone, for the most part, I think, was pretty okay with it. It's just that the idiots ring louder online.
Yes. Now, the thing that surprised me, and I wasn't like analyzing Twitter responses, but it seemed to me that most of the negative responses I saw were from women, or at least accounts that claimed to be a woman, and that stunned me. Like, it was the only reason I fell down the rabbit hole and kept going through tweets.
That you were finding. See, I hate going through stupidity like that online to the point where
there are times where I just get intrigued and I can't stop.
See,
and I just kept
makes
scrolling, and I was like, there is another woman pissed and another woman pissed. And I just kept going. And I just could not believe that the biggest, most recognizable character since 1963 in the UK is a woman, and the whole world's losing their goddamn mind.
I think that's the other important thing, since you brought it up, that I did want to point out. Like, a lot of people that are getting really upset by the Fembusters trend of making characters women for the sake of making them women, I think are failing to realize the fact that Doctor Who is a British project. Yes, it airs on BBC America, but primarily it is a British show made for British fans. Yes. There are very few pop culture icons in Britain. This is a massive deal for Britain, and I think Americans are being kind of pissy about it, lumping it in with all the other projects that have gone that direction, missing the point that, yes, we do have a lot. This has happened with a lot of American projects, which this is not. This is a huge deal for the UK.
And the way Doctor Who is set up, they can do it intrinsically. They can do it naturally without having to change much. Like, you can change. They're going to get a clean slate at the beginning of the season. They can change the entire direction of the show.
Oh, and it will.
What always happens at Regeneration, and it's built into the show. They can do that without hurting it.
What that very first episode is going to be, okay, and they just to quickly point out, so Moffat, current showrunner Stephen Moffat, revealed that Chibnall, the new showrunner, will actually be taking over during the Christmas special when Jodie Whittaker does come into play. The very first episode, when they come back, is going to be like fish sticks and custard. It is going to be such a clean break that it's almost like giving you whiplash at how different it is. Like when Stephen Moffat came in with Matt Smith and with Amy and Rory, it was like you were watching a different fucking show almost.
Yes.
Aesthetically, the look of the show was different. The tone was different. It still felt like Doctor Who, but it felt like a very different Doctor Who. That is exactly what Moffat set up for Chibnall, because he's going to have his own play of companions. He obviously got his hand-picked, someone he had worked with previously in Doctor. I think the tone's going to be different. I think it's going to have a different... I think she's going to have a drastically different TARDIS. I'm speculating, since the Christmas special stars the first Doctor very heavily, I could see them going very retro, playing to that. Like, for whatever... Like, maybe they switch TARDISes. Maybe she, from that point, is actually using the first Doctors. You know, they could write that in.
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting, like switching to an earlier version of the TARDIS, actually. I'm super excited by this. I like I think people are forgetting too. Have you ever fucking seen a bad British actor? They're all fucking master thespians. Like, we've seen
amazing.
her, everything she's been in, she's been great. She was very good in the Black Mirror episode she was in. She was very good in Broadchurch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I think people need to calm the fuck down, but they never will, because it's fucking modern internet. And if they can get pissed off about it, they will get pissed off about it.
We should also, since we've talked about it so heavily, mention that what you see and hear on social media does not necessarily represent the entire population.
Most people, like you or I, were cool with it and didn't fucking say a word because we're not insane. Like, a lot of the hate is because people who are insane, and I swear to God, you should have to pass a fucking IQ test to get a Twitter account. I really do.
When social media, unfortunately, allows the dumbest among Earth's denizens to ring the loudest, like you were talking about, and often that makes it feel like everybody is pissed off. It's probably like 1% of the fans or something. Like, I don't know the actual numbers. I'm just saying it could be like 1%.
Yeah. So, new showrunner Chris Chibnall said in a statement, after months of lists, conversations, auditions, recalls, and a lot of secret keeping, we're excited to welcome Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor. I always knew I wanted the 13th Doctor to be a woman, and we're thrilled to have secured our number one choice. Her audition for the Doctor simply blew us all away. She's an in-demand, funny, inspiring, super smart force of nature and will bring loads of wit, strength, and warmth to the role. The 13th Doctor is on her way.
You know what I'd like to see while I still have the thought in my head? Because I tend to lose them quickly. Like, sometimes they do things with numbers. Like David Tennant had the number 4 going on. He'll knock 4 times. They have shit like that going on with the different Doctors. I think it would be kind of cool since she's number 13 that just all this absurdly like crazy stuff happens to her. Just because the number 13.
She's it's like meta in the fact that she realizes it's unlucky number 13. That's actually that's an intriguing little concept I hadn't really thought of, but I would really like to see them do that. It'd be fun.
I think it would be something just cool to play with.
When she regenerates, it is going to be hilarious.
Yes.
It is going to be fucking hysterical, dude. Like they were gonna it's gonna be great. But Whittaker added, it's more than an honor to play the Doctor. It means remembering everyone I used to be while stepping forward to embrace everything the Doctor stands for. Hope. I can't wait. Yeah, I'm super. I said I'm super excited. I love everything Moffat brought to the table. Obviously, some of the most iconic characters, villains, monsters are all out of his brain. But you can only do a project for so long.
Yes.
And now
Chibnall has written for Doctor Who before, and he's got some of the coolest episodes.
42 alone should get him respect, in my opinion.
Yes. So, I mean, imagine now he's got like the entire Doctor Who canon at his disposal, and
I think it is going to skew darker. I think it really will, because especially when you eventually get to watch Broadchurch, like Broadchurch has some heavy fucking themes behind it.
Now that it's ending, ironically, I'm probably gonna blaze through it when that last season hits Netflix.
Really, it's fucking David Tennant. Like
I know it's more David Tennant. How can I lose? Right.
Yeah. I can't wait. Are you really excited to see where they go with it? Like,
I am fucking stoked.
It is so interesting just because of how many different directions they can go with it. Like, I'm so fascinated by it. I cannot wait.
I literally cannot wait, and we're probably gonna have to wait for quite some time.
It really makes me sad. How long
they might take another year off, like they did when they were trying to figure everything out before.
Because it would take them forever, even when they had their shit together. Now that they're having to make everything from scratch, and like they just were able to announce the Doctor, they still haven't even probably like thought about companions. Like,
yeah,
they have so much to do.
So much to do before they even get started.
It's hard enough making those seasons where you're just coming up with storylines for established characters.
It'd basically be like sitting down in a writer's room and creating a whole new show. Like you're just now moving into the office.
And like I was saying, it's hard enough to make new storylines for established characters. You have to establish characters before you can make storylines. So it is just a clusterfuck. But yes, Ron and I are both very, very excited for new Doctor Who in 2035. Moving on, a show that will also probably be quite a ways out, I would imagine, because they need a fucking nap, is Benioff and Wife's next project following Game of Thrones, which they have announced. Ron, why don't you take us away on what it exactly details, because you have the notes on this one.
I found this pretty intriguing. So I guess it's like taking place in an alternate timeline, and I think the article is the same one that I read that you copied. The drama chronicles the events leading to the Third American Civil War, inferring we've had a second one as well. The Southern states, the Confederacy, had actually succeeded in succeeding from the Union. So, and in the Confederacy, slavery remains legal. It's evolved to a modern institution. The story follows a broad swath of characters on both sides of the Mason-Dixie demilitarized zone, freedom fighters, slave hunters, politicians, abolitionists. Can't fucking talk all of a sudden.
Me either.
Journalists, and the executives of a slaveholding conglomerate that the families of people in their thrall. So basically, it is V for Vendetta set in the Civil War era.
Yeah, it's a lot like Man in the High Castle.
Not that the South. Well, I guess you could say the South ones that succeeded in, separating from the Union, but they have become a whole different state.
What it's like is like Man in the High Castle, except Civil War instead of World War II. I think it's fascinating. I love alternate history, anything.
Yes.
And I think the
Game of Thrones could you imagine like slavery and like the slave owners and that warfare in that era? Like, you think warfare now is gruesome? The weapons that they had at their disposal back then and the medicine they had at their disposal was also gruesome.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine the shit we're going to see on HBO from Benioff?
Yeah. Because they're gonna make a point of it too, that this dividing factor of our country obviously slowed our technology progression.
Yes.
Naturally. If we didn't say the working title, if not official, I don't know if it was official or it's at least the working title is Confederate.
Yes.
And people, just like we were talking about with Doctor Who, are like a lot of people are fucking getting pissed off about this already. I'm like, dude, it's not even a fucking script yet, and they're already getting mad because of it.
They're already getting mad about.
They're getting mad because of the subject material. They think it's going to be like a lot of people were saying it's going to be implementing the wrong message about racism. Like, you're talking about something that is a fucking idea. It's not even fucking script yet. Calm.
What this is gonna be? It's
gonna
invoke the same feelings and emotions you had watching Legends of Tomorrow and that one slavery episode.
I just think it's like you have no reason to doubt them too, because it's fucking Game of Thrones, one of the most successful, popular, and well-made shows ever on HBO, who never fucking makes a bad project. They just make subpar for their standards occasionally.
Yes.
God, it just pisses me off, dude. Like, it makes me depressed for our fucking species how quick people are to jump to the gun about shit they have no idea what they're talking about. I'm super excited for it. You and I called it too. They would do an original project with HBO because they will give them carte blanche, as they deserve, to do whatever they want. They're great writers.
We called the HBO. We'll go to Benioff and Weiss and say, please make us more money. That's exactly what's happening.
It'll be wildly successful because they'll be able to say on all their fucking teasers from the makers of Game of Thrones, boom, done.
And if any of their writers that they have stay on staff, you know that they've already got a job with Benioff and Weiss.
Two of the main executive producers were from Game of Thrones. One of them was from Empire as well. One of them was from Justified. Like, they're working with very, very high-profile people in addition to themselves.
Yeah, Benioff and Weiss are going to be writers and executive producers. And apparently, according to them, a quote you have from them is, "We have discussed Confederate for years, originally as a concept for a feature film." Now, what is something that you and I have said before? Something that's usually been an idea in a writer's head for years is usually incredibly polished when it releases. Now, in movie terms, we're talking just the other day about how sequels usually fall off because then they usually only get like a year or two to think about a sequel. But usually, if a writer's been tossing something around for years, which they say they have, it's probably more polished in their minds than you think it is. Our experience on Thrones has convinced us that no one provides a bigger, better storytelling canvas than HBO. Also, HBO is signing your checks. There won't be dragons or White Walkers in the series, but we are creating a world, and we couldn't imagine better partners in world building than, is it Nichelle Tremble-Spellman and Malcolm Spellman, who have impressed us for a long time with their wit, their imagination, and their Scrabble playing skills. World building. What do you think they did in Game of Thrones for 8 seasons?
Dude, it really irritates me. Like,
if there's anyone that is good at world building, it's them. So it's in good hands. And yes, it's probably going to be disturbing, but is it going to send the wrong message about racism? No.
What on HBO isn't?
Seriously.
Like HBO has been known from the get-go. Oz, Game of Thrones, like look through their Sopranos, like look through their catalog. They push boundaries. That is like their whole fucking thing. So shut the fuck up, idiots of the world on Twitter. All right, we're obviously excited for it. Let's probably be more blood vessels. Why don't we jump into our pet peeves, Ron? Okay. We're obviously fucking excited for the Benioff and Weiss show. We're gonna watch the fuck out of it. We're gonna make some fucking pun tying into the Civil War. We'll make a fucking sister show. Once Game of Thrones is over, we'll start talking Confederate.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, the trouble we can get in with the shit we're gonna say on that.
Oh, no kidding. So, Ron. Well, we're continuing the pet peeves list from last week because we were lazy and didn't feel like coming up with a different topic, and we still had leftover ones to use. So, Ron, why don't you start us off? Do you have your list available?
Let's see here.
For those who missed it, these are our pet peeves, entertainment, be them like movies, TV, gaming, like whatever the fuck can be anything. Just general pet peeves in entertainment. Go.
Well, let me just start off with something simple that is in just about every goddamn movie you've ever seen. Why on earth, in any movie or TV show, when the gun runs out of ammo, do they just drop it or throw it away?
Because, Ron.
If nothing else, it's a fucking weapon, like fucking melee weapon. Just flip it over. If nothing else.
Yeah, those fucking guns they fucking hurt if you dropped a gun on your foot, you'd break your fucking toe. So if you're swinging it, you could do some damage.
Could you imagine being pistol whipped?
Yeah.
Yeah, that drives me insane when I see that. Especially when they're going Uncharted style and just killing an entire army. You know they have other ammo on their person. Why don't they loot corpses in movies, Geoff?
It's like, have you watched PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds at Hollywood? Come on. It's like all you do is loot shit. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Unless it is in like a comedy where they are clearly making fun of the trope.
Yes.
That's one thing. You're talking only serious shit that still does that, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. My first one is the viewer being smarter and more steps ahead than supposedly well-equipped and smart characters in a show.
Okay.
And my example of this was from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1. When and these are spoilers for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1. I'm assuming anyone who cares by now, I'm assuming anyone who cares is already way up to date, well beyond that. So they have the plot element that is revealed that Ward's a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Or no, it's revealed that Bill Paxton was a bad guy.
Uh-huh.
The fucking guy who they knew trained with the man for like 15 fucking years was Ward. And Agent May and Agent Coulson, who are both like fucking genius tactics, doesn't even cross their fucking mind for a second that he might be working with them. I'm like, I facepalmed when they sent him with the leader of fucking S.H.I.E.L.D. and he like immediately popped her in the head. It's like, of fucking course he did. Like, Come on. Shit like that pisses me off.
Yeah, that I hate shit like that. Like, it's funny how often I've seen stuff like that, especially with the B movies that I watch and shit, but I really can't think of another example off the top of my head.
Screaming at your TV moments,
yes.
Shit like that. There were like 20 in Iron Fist, where I'm just like, oh, there was one in Iron Fist where, I shit you not, within like a 20-minute time span, they establish that the enemies have poison blades. One of them gets hit and nicked with a blade, and they completely forget that they could possibly be poisoned until they're almost dead. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, Iron Fist? Okay.
Maybe since you're already about to blow a blood vessel, this was not a good idea.
Yeah.
I literally have characters named Martha in my list. So one that I want to talk about, and I didn't even write down an example, so I don't know what I was watching when it hit me, but I have an example off the top of my head because it bugs me every time I watch this movie, is reusing scenes. This day and age, with the budgets projects get, you should not need to reuse scenes.
It was especially prevalent in like pre-70s, pre-80s.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, even with stock footage,
they'd have to be geniuses to see.
Yeah.
Yes. Remember that in Reptilicus?
What's like a more recent one that did it that made you recognize it?
Whatever I was watching and I wrote this down, I don't know, but the one that still pisses me off when I think about it is the first Bayformers movie.
Which scene gets reused? Like, are you talking about like the choppers flying over and shit like that?
There's like 3 or 4 different ones in that movie, but the one that always looked especially terrible to me, they not only showed you again, they showed it again in reverse.
What scene was it that got replayed?
So Ratchet's in the background, Ironhide's in the foreground, and he bends down to talk to Sam. And then instead of animating him bending back up, they run it in reverse. It's the exact same scene ran in reverse. And it looks fucking awkward because he does this motion and then he does this motion.
Yeah.
And it's even kind of jumpy going in reverse.
Particularly
now that may have been more noticeable to me because I ran that when I was an IMAX projectionist in 70 millimeter film, but
for them to make something even more jarring than everything having to do with the Transformers already is pretty bad.
Yes. Now I actually like that first movie, but there's like 3 or 4 different scenes. I want to say the helicopter guy at the Qatar attack at the beginning of the movie. I want to say there's something with him reused there. And then there's a lot like you were talking about of the military stuff being reused.
Transition shots.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, especially with the budget that movie had, how hard would it have been to just take your wireframe and give it another animation or not even show that part?
Here's the other thing, too. This is kind of a callback to last week's at the very end where I talked about movies being too long. How about you cut some scenes and make it not 2 hours and 45 fucking minutes long, Michael Bay?
In that scene where they run it in reverse, no one says anything. They could have just not showed that part.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Are you saying Michael Bay might not know what he's doing? I think
the only thing that surprises me more is that Ironhide didn't explode when he went in reverse. That's the only thing that surprises me more.
Yeah.
That one especially always pissed me off because I'm like, the budget you have? Why are you showing me it again?
You've already spent $5 bajillion. What's another, $500 million? Just make another fucking CGI sequence.
Yeah.
My next one is really quick, but it just drives me crazy. People not saying goodbye or bye when they hang up a phone always irritates me to death. I'm like, everyone in Hollywood in a movie or TV show is like an asshole. Because I'm like, if someone just like hangs up the phone on me without saying, how many times in your life, Ron, have you hung up a phone without saying bye, see you later, or goodbye, or something?
Yeah.
No one does that. Why is that a thing?
Well,
is it like
no one even knows what you're talking about because no one talks on a phone now?
Well, that's a good point too. That's
what it is. They forgot how to do it, Geoff.
No, well, this has been happening since the dawn of time. When you and I were born, this was still a thing.
You know what? I'm going to use yours as a segue. I don't have this one on my list, but it's a good one. I know that there's a certain section of phone numbers reserved for Hollywood, but you don't always have to start a phone number of 555.
I even before you started that sentence, I knew what numbers you were going to say. That's pretty bad.
Like, you know how many movies, like late 80s, early 90s, the phone number is always 555? Because I don't know if people know this, but there's a section of phone numbers and a section of like license plates on cars that are used in Hollywood films that can't be used in public. And one of them is 555, but that's just one of them.
And I'm going to segue again off of one that wasn't on my list that I think is a good one. Horrible product placement will like take me right out of a fucking movie. And you know the ones that immediately jump to my mind, and you will know this from back when you watched it. Arrow used to have such blatant advertising. It was either for like Sprint or like AT&T or something. But like all of Felicity's tablets for no fucking reason had like AT&T or Sprint, whatever company it was, blasted all over her shit. I'm like, I'm sorry, AT&T Sprint or whoever the fuck
It
it
just
was.
cuts back to Felicity and she's wearing a polo with the logo.
I'm sorry, whatever company that was, but I'm not watching fucking Arrow at home and seeing Felicity using Sprint or whatever it was. I'm like, I want to go out buy a Sprint phone now. Like, that is just idiotic advertising to me.
Yes. And that's just sloppily done because there's some movies where it's just natural.
You want to know the best product placement of all time was fucking the donuts in Power Rangers. Krispy Kreme was fucking awesome.
I know.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
That was the best thing about that fucking movie.
I hope that did something for Krispy Kreme because that was deserved.
I hope it did too. Okay, what's your next one?
Okay. Don't get mad.
Oh, I'm gonna fuck. Don't you? You're not my real dad. I'll fucking get mad if I want to.
The example, the only one I could come up with is because I wrote this down while watching it, was in Standalone Complex.
You tread lightly, Mr. Huddleston.
Now, the thing that you're going to hate it because it's Standalone Complex, but you're going to like it because it's a writing thing. And it's probably the only one on my list that's a writing thing. So proud of you. So it's just, me, off the top of my head, I can't come up with anything, but, in a casual conversation, I could. So lines in mysteries and crime dramas that only exist to keep the viewer on the edge of their seat, like they pause for effect type thing. Like the example that I had was there is an episode where Togasa realizes his clue, and that is that the thing missing from all the photos he's looking at is the camera. And he literally, while looking in the mirror at himself, says to himself internally, "Oh, there's only one thing missing from the photos. The camera." Oh, I know what you're talking about. I think I even remember that scene now. Yeah, I was sitting there like, did you just do that? He's not talking to anyone. It's internal monologue. Basically, like it's waiting for the dun dun dun. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. Never. I used to watch when I was a little bit younger, and I didn't know better. CSI with my parents back when I was like 12, before I realized what shitty ass television was. And don't ever watch CSI for God's sake, because there's just like it's there. David Caruso, his one-liner glasses meme is a meme for a reason, because good God, was it just every fucking 5 minutes they were spouting off something. Yeah, but I wanted to add an example to. Let's see. My next one is, and it's ironic because of how much I love Doctor Who. That's like the only time it's acceptable to me is in Doctor Who, but not adhering to previously established rules or story elements you have set up. Mm-hmm. Which is what fucking, if they almost make rules just to break them because of just how. But Doctor Who is so fucking crazy and out there. I forgive it most of the time, but you know what I'm talking about. I don't really have like a specific one off the top of my head. Do you have any like that kind of you know what I'm talking about? But I just don't have any like specific examples. I know what you're talking about. But I've watched so much shit in my past. Yeah, it's hard to just like place an example for that because it's very specific. The thing that most often does that is like time travel movies. Yes. Where if you're not paying close, well, Doctor Who actually Flash, perfect fucking example. Flash, you will have like fucking 5 characters walk up to Barry goddamn Allen, Mr. Worst superhero ever. Now Barry, when you go back in time, don't change anything. That's a bad Barry. Don't fucking do it. And what does Mr. fucking Allen do? First fucking thing, I'm gonna save Mr. Cisco. Fucking shitty. There is an episode that is all time travel. He breaks every rule people set for him, and when he comes back to our time, the only thing that's changed is a guy that was a villain in the previous season is now their friend, and they never see him again after he leaves that episode. He's not even their friend anymore. They just don't even see him anymore. Can we do a Flash recap show next year where we just hate watch the fuck out of the Flash and then just immediately go and piss all over that show? Because I would do it. I'm just throwing that out there.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping.
We're back. Ron and I got so mad we broke Ron's internet. There were so many expletives. We broke your expletive data cap and then just like fucking popped
all
it.
my bandwidth, just expletives.
Just fucking flatline, dude.
Yep.
But while Ron was lagged out, he came up with one that was on his list. So which one is that, sir?
So, inspired by the Arrowverse, and it's the best fucking example I can give, even my wife was screaming at the TV. I don't know if it's just the way they showed it to you, but do you remember, I don't even remember at this point who he was fighting, but Arrow is like on top of a dam. I think it's the sound guy that ended up being Flash's friend when he changed time. He's like up on a dam, and Lance and all the officers are like across the way, and he's trying to keep the snipers from shooting. It's like in one of the finales.
It was actually when Oliver was fighting Ra's al Ghul. They both had black hoods on, so you couldn't fucking tell who the shit was fighting who.
But that detail didn't really matter, did it? Because didn't they also want Arrow dead and Lance was trying to stop it?
They had no reason not to blow them both the fuck away.
They kept saying that like they had the shot.
Apparently not.
And their orders were shoot to kill to begin with. And my wife was sitting on the couch like, then shoot! Like, she just kept, every time it showed the snipers like 4 times, she was like, then shoot!
Like, incompetently portrayed police and government officials and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, I do exactly. It was just like a writing quirk that was supposed to be on the edge of my edge of my seat. Like, are they going to shoot? They're not going to shoot. And the thing was, they had orders to shoot to kill to begin with, and they had clear line of sight to both characters that they wanted to shoot.
And it actually would have made the fight cooler if while fighting each other, they had to dodge fucking bullets.
Yeah.
It would have added excitement to their shitty-ass finale, and they were just like, fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't even fucking know. That was during season 3 of Arrow, when I'm pretty sure there weren't even scripts, so I don't even know who to get mad at with that scenario.
It's like the Arrowverse had its own little writer strike or something.
It was like they had a writer's vacay where they were just like fucking snorting cocaine the entire season, not writing a damn thing. It's like
they fucked up Ra's al Ghul.
You have to be trying to maybe not be excited to see Ra's al Ghul in a thing. Like,
yes.
Good God. And what did Legends of Tomorrow do? Oh, we'll take him. We'll make him awesome. Like they do with every other character that's ever been invented on any of those fucking TVs.
Oh, I know.
All right. We have time for a couple more, maybe like one each, and then we'll take off. But my last one was underutilizing awesome actors.
Yes.
And the first one that comes to my mind, speaking of like our love for Doctor Who, is Christopher Eccleston in the second Thor movie. There was no reason for Christopher Eccleston to be in that role.
Not at all.
He had like fucking 3 lines of dialogue, and they were all in a fucking alien language, and you couldn't tell it was him. I could have played that character, and they wasted Christopher Eccleston for a Marvel movie.
To be fair on both sides of that argument, A, we don't know what all was cut out to make more Loki scenes. And B, I say fuck you anyway, because the MCU has a terrible track record with developing villains. I don't even know that we lost that much Christopher Eccleston when they cut shit out.
But it's just the same thing. The guy was in the movie for no
and you
fucking
never would have known it.
Never would have known he was there. That's just the one. If I really sat and thought about it, I could find more for that. But that's just the first one that came to my mind. So,
yeah.
You got time for one more, Ron?
All right. Let's see. I wish I had written it down because I have the characters named Martha in here, and that happened on something Chris was watching. It wasn't Martha, but it was something similar. I wish I had written that down so I had more than one example to talk about it right now. But one thing that drives me up the wall is, and the example I have is the Power Rangers movie.
A lot of Power Rangers references today. Like
they did so many good things, but then they have so many terrible fucking lines that the actors took the shit and molded it into shit bouillon because that was the best they could make it into. Like, I don't know. Like, the only example I have is that entire goddamn movie for dialogue, just about.
Yeah, we specifically talked to some of them last week with the my meta argument about how like, but I want to be Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like almost like grinding the movie to a halt to have a reference that should never been made type of situation.
Yes. Iron Fist with the pig swimming in gravy line.
I could do an entire Iron Fist pet peeves episode.
Yeah.
Just pet peeves from Iron Fist.
Rogue One, when Darth Vader says don't choke on your ambition as he's choking a guy. I'm like, come on. As much as I love puns, come on. Even Honest Trailers said, who let Lucas write a line when they showed that scene? Yeah.
I still like Rogue One. Don't hurt me.
What else does Geoff love I can poke at?
Yeah. I just like how I think we referenced Power Rangers pro and negative like 7 times a day. I don't know what it was with today.
I have such mixed feelings for that movie because there's so much in it that was actually worthwhile.
I really like it. I have every reason not to, but I can't help. I had fun watching the movie, so fuck it.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies. It's one of those movies. It doesn't matter that it was technically bad. It was fun, so fuck it. There are so many movies that I dislike that if I find one I like, even if I have issues with it, I try to adhere more towards the pro side just because there are plenty of Iron Fists out there that are genuinely fucking bad and genuinely had nothing to offer and should be fucking chat on. That if you have fun with the movie, like, I think it's insane. Just like a generalized pet peeve, critics going out of their way to take apart movies that have. Now we're not getting into that because that is a specific topic that we will eventually get to. Maybe even next week when we forget to actually come up with anything like today. But yeah, that could be future tease to one of our later VOD topics. Okay. Thank you for checking us out for this episode. If you would like to get more of our content, please like and subscribe. In addition to our news vodcasts, we also have a Game of Thrones show that goes up every Sunday night. Our first episode just went live Sunday for Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 1. We do it every episode now.
Yes, and I try to have those up by midnight that night.
Yeah.
I think I missed the mark by 10 minutes.
Fucking fired. Fucking get off my show. Get off my show.
But yeah, I don't get to watch them until later in the evening, so I try to get them up by midnight.
Somebody had to go and have children and make Geoff wait to talk about Game of Thrones. Selfish asshole.
I was stunned. I got no text messages except the one I told you to shut up. Shut up.
Shut up. You know I wouldn't spoil. If I were to do anything like that.
But then I was sitting there like, oh, something awesome's gonna happen right here.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
If I had sent you that text, we would have been having a talk.
I'm so sorry. I said something awesome happened in Game of Thrones. Like, because that never happens.
You would have sat me down and had a talk with me if I had sent you that text.
All right, fine. I'm just going radio silent. I'll go on tonight's watch and be like...
Just throw your microphone over your shoulder.
I'm sure that sounded good.
Actually, it didn't sound that bad on my end.
Okay. Just the pop filters. Yeah. We also have social media links for this debauchery, whatever this fucking channel has devolved into.
I don't know.
For Facebook and Twitter in the description. And please share us out to your friends and family. We would greatly appreciate it. I'm Geoff.
I'm Ron.
We will see you next week. Ron and I are going to go kill each other now over nothing. Bye, guys.